In this video, we're going to talk about formatting your copy. In a typical production pipeline, it's the voice talent who usually gets a written script last. There'll be a copywriter who has come up with the commercial or corporate copy. They then might have had discussion with the rest of the team regarding what footage has been shot or is being used if it's stock footage. There'll be many discussions with the client, and there may be whole different levels of management to go through with the client, depending on the size of the organization that they're working from. So everything needs to be signed off on multiple different levels before it then comes back to us as voiceover artists. And occasionally we might be able to feedback either during a directed session or in the initial discussion stage about whether or not a particular line or section doesn't sound natural, if it needs a little bit of work or adjusting. That's why we as voiceover talents tend to get into the habit of recording alternates, whether in live sessions or self-directed sessions, so that then we can provide both the producer and also the end client with options so that then they can actually see and make an active choice. But really, we have to deal with the reality of what's presented with us, and there's not really much negotiation. And so therefore, a shorthand to make sure that we do our job as effectively as possible as voiceover artists is one of formatting. It's very important to appreciate that although there are exceptions to this, a lot of voiceover copy isn't formatted in a way that's necessarily going to aid the vocal delivery of that script. With commercials, there seems to be a lot more kind of sensitivity to that because every word really counts, and there are often bigger budgets involved. But especially with corporate work, you're going to be presented with huge blocks of script that might not be divided properly or divided at all. And because the main focus has been on reaching some kind of agreement between a whole team of people, that's kind of gone by the wayside. So a short way of doing this, as well as textual analysis and working with coaches so that you have all of the tools readily available for you to do your best work, a really essential basic one is to just change how the script looks on a page. So I thought I would just take an example of a random script that I picked up today to see how I would just format it for sense very quickly, depending on what the brief is from the client. So I have that in mind first of all, and then I can format the text very quickly in response to that to hopefully get the best result.
Okay, so this is the text that I've chosen to have a look at very quickly, and immediately you can see there's this huge block of text which looks a bit impenetrable on the page. It makes me feel nervous even looking at it. So first of all, structurally, I know that there's generally some sort of problem in copy, which then the product or the service or the supplier offers a solution to, and then we have a conclusion. I mean, there can be more levels to that, but in a text here, which is only about 150 words, there's that, and immediately I can see that we have this here. So we've got the initial section, which is the problem. The changes in the oil and gas industry, it not being stable, the need for change. Future Oil PLC, the client, is coming in as the solution for that. And then we also have the conclusion is there as well. So we've got, which is kind of like wrapping up everything that's been said. So we have our three main sections here. And then what I generally try and do in terms of the formatting, the brief for this is that it should be quite aspirational and cinematic, seeing some of the video that they're using as well. So knowing that we're going to be using a slightly slower delivery and taking a bit more time, letting the images sink in, we're thinking about voicing underneath the visuals to facilitate the visuals rather than voicing over, essentially, and being more announcery. One thing that I would do is kind of like break up these thoughts in terms of where I would possibly breathe. So the oil and gas industry are constantly changing and evolving as new technologies and new markets are being implemented. I mean, as new technologies and new markets, because you want that demarcation between technologies and markets as both being important, are being implemented. Then Future Oil PLC, has been set up to take advantage of future advances within the energy sector. Standalone, fine. We work and invest in the energy and petroleum sectors, namely, and then oil, gas, solar, wind, and solar hydrogen. Even just having that as a separate line means that I know in my periphery that it's a list, that there's a list coming from petroleum sectors, namely oil, gas, solar, wind, and solar hydrogen. That seems much easier for me to visually scan. Again, at any kind of like comma, I would normally use it as well. As we develop our future and present energy sources, we intend to introduce blockchain technology and novel solutions within our business. Our main mission being to explore and develop oil and gas resources by leveraging technology and utilizing a talented workforce. So again, it's that kind of like you can still drive the energy through until the end of the line with these, but where you would naturally probably suspend the thought or take a little half breath, especially when we're going for a slightly slower pace of delivery, it naturally lands itself to being there. And then finally, because we're wrapping up, if anything, we might be building to a climax of some sort, but the statements are going to be more confident and more affirmative. These sentences are getting a bit shorter rather than being as extended over 3 or 4 lines. The future depends on the sustainable work we do. Our partnerships are helping to reduce waste and educate people about sustainability. Again, I personally, and it's all about making it work for you, I personally would put that there as well. Another break. Future Oil PLC recognised the need for a more sustainable and environmentally friendly business that will help the industry. That would be wrapped up. I'd say that's a self-contained. It's an entire thought unto itself. You don't want to drop anything into a subclause, so I'd keep that as it was. But just in terms of overall what we've got now, in this script, it may seem longer, but there's more of a journey through it organically with those sections than the block that we had previously there. I mean, which would you want to narrate to immediately read first? That or this, where it all seems just a lot more manageable. And there's not been a huge amount of logic to it, really, apart from what I've been whittling on about. But hopefully it's quite intuitive. And the more you kind of start looking at scripts like this, the better it'll be. I can even go into the site reading now. The oil and gas industry are constantly changing and evolving as new technologies and new markets are being implemented. Future Oil PLC has been set up to take advantage of future advances within the energy sector. We work and invest in the energy and petroleum sectors, namely oil, gas, solar, wind, and solar hydrogen. As we develop our future and present energy sources, we intend to introduce blockchain technology and novel solutions within our business. Our main mission being to explore and develop oil and gas resources by leveraging technology and utilizing a talented workforce. The future depends on the sustainable work we do. Our partnerships are helping to reduce waste and educate people about sustainability. Future Oil PLC recognises the need for a more sustainable and environmentally friendly business that will help the industry. Okay, so the only thing I'd probably add to that is that kind of rounds it off more neatly. But that wasn't intended as a final read, but that was just my first cold read of this entire script all the way through. Didn't make any mistakes, all seemed to make sense. So in terms of sense, that's all done, all sorted. We've got an idea of how we can implement the read. Now we can focus on bringing out these contrasts a bit more, thinking a little bit more about what the client is, what the read might need, and then going for it. But the job of reading it and making these seem like thoughts as opposed to words, emotions that you want to communicate, this will help you do your job.
Okay, so that's how I would approach a script like that, a project like that. And obviously I use the similar kind of like techniques in any commercial script, any corporate work that I do, IVR, explainers, everything. It just kind of helps as a shorthand and works for me as soon as I have a rough idea of what the tone and the audience, who I'm speaking to. As long as I've got that, I can see the script through that filter and adjust the layout accordingly. Hopefully anyway. I hope you found this video useful. If so, please do like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thanks very much for joining me, and see you next week.